aggregation of demand becomes a business model that I think will be needed as we look at the kinds of technologies, the kinds of products that we will need today, both on the demand side and on the supply side. Now, on the supply side, demand aggregation has not really been there in the electricity sector. But we are seeing it happening, whether it is solar rooftops or whether it is electric cars. And the last 2 points that I'd like to focus are the 2 big policy areas where I think movement is needed. There are obviously hundreds of policies that are needed, but I'll only focus on 2. The first is coal. As we discussed yesterday, Mr. Parthu Bhattacharya was here yesterday. As we discussed yesterday, we cannot forget coal. And for a variety of reasons, including the fact that there is a large amount of capacity we have already invested in, we will look at a future in which coal increases, stabilizes, and declines, but over a 35-year period. This is a long enough time to plan mines, to plan technology, and most importantly, plan about people. The coal sector is one of our largest employers. How do we manage it? Tomorrow, in the coal mining space they have, why don't we have solar panels? Coal India can move from providing one kind of energy to another kind of energy. But we will need to start thinking now. The good thing is we have 1 generation worth of time to manage this transition. And it need not be a transition that adversely affects the people who work in the coal sector. And the last point that I'd like to focus on is the proposal in the current electricity amendment bill, which focuses on separating the supply of electricity from the ownership of the wires. Today, we buy the electricity from our distribution companies. They own the wires that bring the electricity to our house. But they are also the people from whom we purchase the electricity. They buy it from plants and sell it to us. Just as in telephones, in cell phones, we will have the choice to buy from any electricity plant that we want. Or people will come up who will start aggregating electricity. Somebody supplies a bundle which is much more green. Somebody supplies where the reliability is much higher. So depending on what you need, these various bundles will come up. And we will pay some amount of money, maybe a paisa and a half per kilowatt hour, for the use of the wires that are owned by the distribution company. So the electricity gets to your house. It's a process that works in many countries. We are moving towards this bundling of supply. And I think with the kind of IT infrastructure that we have, it is now possible to make these kinds of changes in near real time. I'd like to end by reiterating the fact that the future will be different from what the past was. It also implies that the way we do business will be different from the way in the past. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. As always, a very well-structured presentation with an excellent overview. May we welcome His Excellency Sir Dominic Asquith, High Commissioner of the United Kingdom to India. Thank you very much, Ajay, for as always, giving us an excellent overview and talking about, from a policy perspective, investment perspective, and the business model that will increasingly gain credence going into the future. Thank you very much. May I now request Shri Upendra Tripathi ji to please deliver his address.
Honorable Minister for Power and Renewable Energy, who is known all over the country for having very innovative views, and even in a province with, not too much of desert or wasteland, he has been making it one of the leading states in terms of having pumped solar projects or proposing for big ticket projects. And friends on the rise and in the audience, I have structured my presentation into two parts. The first part is a 6-minute video which says what the Solar Alliance has been so far. And the second part, I'll be talking about what the future of this alliance is going to be, what actually we're planning to do. So I would request the video to be switched on, and maybe the lights can be switched off.
1861 Paris, French scientist Augustin Moutet received patents for the module solar. Since then, almost 3/4 of world's energy needs are fulfilled by fossil fuels. The growing carbon menace and the climate hazards are creating global concerns and questioning the pattern of growth. The fact that even today, over 1.2 billion people are having no access to electricity, majorly in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. Anyone can guess the burden on fossil fuels and the global anxieties thereof. Amidst all these proverbial times, the blessings of the sun come as the biggest relief, offering multiple solutions for a beautiful living with the progress and peace that the world aspires for.
Solar will be the world's largest source of energy within the next century. There is no way that any of these other sources of energy can compete with solar.
Solar energy is today being used over a large spectrum of applications, right from airplanes to wristwatches. Cost of solar modules during the last 5 years has decreased and is expected to further drop in future. This has resulted in drastic reduction of solar electricity tariffs. Investments in solar energy sector are witnessing a shift from developed to developing nations. However, the challenge is how to maximize solar investments in the Sun Belt region between the tropics, where mankind can benefit the most from solar energy to reduce their fossil fuel consumption. On 30th November 2015, when the world was struggling to find a solution to climate change, more than 70 countries, among the 121 countries, lying fully or partially between the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn, came together and launched an international solar alliance dedicated to reduce the cost of finance and cost of technology for immediate deployment of competitive solar generation assets in all member countries, and to pave the way for future solar generation, storage, and good technologies adapted to countries' individual needs.
Solar energy offers major potential for reducing poverty and limiting greenhouse gas emissions. This will strengthen their energy security, enhance energy access to the poor, reduce spending on costly imported fuel, and reduce demand for carbon-intensive power generation.
We want to bring solar energy into our lives and homes by making it cheaper, more reliable, and easier to connect to grid. It is making the dream of universal access to clean energy become more real. Pour enclencher ce processus, il nous faut avoir financement public. Et c'est la raison pour laquelle je remercie tous les pays qui sont ici représentés d'avoir cette volonté. Je pense notamment aussi aux Pays-Bas, puisque les Pays-Bas ont voulu s'associer à la France pour mettre des financements publics.
We intend making joint efforts through innovative policies, projects, programs, capacity building measures, and financial instruments to mobilize more than $1,000 billion of investments that are needed by 2030 for the massive deployment of affordable solar energy.
On 25th January 2016, Honorable Prime Minister of India and Honorable President of France laid the foundation stone of the International Solar Alliance headquarters and inaugurated the Interim Secretariat of ISA at the National Institute of Solar Energy campus at Gurugram. The Secretariat will make proposals before the Assembly to establish and enhance a corpus fund which will generate revenues for the budget of the ISA, with initial donation of $16 billion from Government of India and $1 billion each from public sector undertakings. Government of India will contribute $27 million to the ISA for creating the corpus, building infrastructure and recurring expenditure over 5-year duration from 2016-17 to 2020-21. The key focus areas of the Alliance will be to promote projects and programs to aggregate demand and reduce cost, financing solar with more than $1,000 billion, work with multilateral banks and bilateral agencies, capacity building, common knowledge platform, and technology. ISA will also collaborate with other multilateral organizations. Has planned to organize ISA Green Invest Summits in various countries and continents, and also intends on developing a digital infopedia platform. ISA has set an ambitious target of creating 1,000 gigawatt of solar applications by 2030 in 121 prospective member countries. Let's have a glimpse of few milestones achieved by the International Solar Alliance since its launch on 30th November 2015. Solar irrigation pumps will be a major focus of ISA to provide sustainable energy at a cheaper price. Best practices of solar street lighting can be duplicated in other prospective member countries. Solar rooftop programs, solar energy parks, and green energy corridors can be replicated in several countries. Home lighting systems will fulfill the power needs of millions living in rural and remote areas. Solar energy can also be used in the transportation sector. Concentrating solar technologies can be used to cook food for process heat applications and for space cooling application. Solar water purifiers and solar desalination units will provide clean water to millions of people at an affordable cost. ISA's action-oriented programs will have an immense impact on climate change, as it will give the world a realistic chance of keeping the rise in global temperature below 2 degrees Celsius. Increased demand in solar energy sector will establish new solar manufacturing and associated industries, which would in turn create greater employment opportunities and fuel economic growth. Above all, the alliance will improve socio-economic conditions of the people and bring smiles to their faces
and a big relief to the heart of the humanity. The International Solar Alliance is a $1 trillion opportunity to serve the humanity. Come, together let us think sun, and together let us make it brighter.
Well, that's the video which told what ISA has been so far. Due to time constraint, I'll limit my next part to 5 minutes, and I won't use the PPT because you are having too many PowerPoint presentations. The next phase is what we are planning to do in next 5 years. As you know, we are waiting for 9th of December this year. That is the day of Solar Summit, when the Honorable President of France is coming, the Indian Prime Minister will be there, and then we are inviting the heads of the governments and heads of the states of the 15 countries or more who would have ratified the treaty by 9th of December. And these countries are going to be the founding members of ISA. This is the first intergovernmental and international treaty-based organization to be headquartered in India. So right now we have 3 programs, and the distinct nature of ISA is that it's going to be an action-oriented organization. It's not going to produce reports or working papers. Rather, it will implement the working papers and reports published by peer organizations, other international bodies. The Prime Minister of India wanted that the first program of ISA should be for the farmers. So, scaling up solar applications. Under the first program, we have been asking the member countries if they could give solar pumps to the farmers. We have contacted Bangladesh, who have expressed interest for 50,000 solar pumps for farmers. And these solar pumps can replace diesel pumps. They can come in areas when there is no electricity, or even in areas where electricity is there, solar pumps can also be placed in a hybrid mode. Uganda has expressed interest for 20,000 solar pumps. They have potential for a lot more. Mauritius, even India wants 100,000 more solar pumps, although 150,000 have been commissioned so far. Now the challenge before ISA is to approach other member countries, get their demand for solar pumps, and we aggregate. We have a target of 500,000 pumps. And once we put countries together, in fact, as I speak today, our people are in discussion with various embassies in Delhi and the focal points in the member countries, trying to gather demand, trying to create demand with the promise that we can aggregate. Essentially, aggregation means we have got TERI as our think tank partner. We have got EESL, who are very good in, in procurement tenders. So we are trying to find out whether we can have a price discovery mechanism so that the cost of solar pumps comes down for all member countries. It is possible. As you can see, it is happening for several products. As I mentioned, starting from electric cars to LED bulbs to pumps. In fact, they have come up with very new models. In one particular province, they say that we will give a solar pump to the farmer at zero cost. We will disconnect them from the grid, and the farmer is happy because the power is reliable and he knows he is going to get water when the sun is there. And the entire cost will be recovered from the tariff subsidy that was being given to the farmers earlier, and the farmer doesn't pay anything. There are different models the countries can experiment with. The cost to the farmers can be minimized, use of diesel can be replaced, and that is how it helps the environment. So that is our first program. And under this program, in next 5 years, ISA is planning to aggregate demand for 1 billion street lights in member countries, because solar street lights have become a reliable source of light. 1 billion home lighting systems and 1 billion solar lamps. In the villages when there is no electricity, these lamps, home lighting systems, street lights will play a very important role. And in 5 years, in fact, it can be much more, because the philosophy behind is that in 21st century, people should not wait up to 2030 to have universal energy access. Today, in most of the UN literature, the SDG that we talk about, people have to wait up to 2030. But the way the price of solar is coming down, the way the storage cost of lithium batteries is coming down and may come down much more, it is possible to have universal energy access, at least to lighting and part of heating, by much before 2030. And ISA believes that it can be done by 2025. Our second program is very simple. It is scaling of finance. How do you get money for solar? We have a number of problems. One, you find that trillions of dollars are lying in pension funds, in insurance funds. But when you talk about renewables, of late some money is coming, but largely there is a constraint. The cost of capital is very high. In India, CEW says that the cost of a project and the cost of capital is 70% of the project cost. Now, how do you get money to the solar sector? That is where ISA plays a big role, and it plays an advocacy role. It has a few things in mind. One, it says that most of the banks, whether it's domestic banks or multilateral banks or private financing agencies, they should have some sort of commitment to climate change. Now, what type can be a commitment to the climate change? Everybody is committed to climate change because that is where the future lies. So, ISA feels that at least 15% of their money can be earmarked for solar projects, can be earmarked for universal energy access projects. It means if a particular bank is giving credit for $100 in a year, $15 can be committed for universal energy projects. And that is where the 1 billion street lights, 1 billion home lighting systems can actually be financed in project mode. And number two, ISA feels that under the finance program, one way of getting credit to the solar sector will be to create a $300 billion fund globally. It's called Solar Risk Mitigation Fund. Today the banks don't give loan because, or hesitate to give a loan because they're not very sure of the projects. PPS, yesterday I had a meeting with bankers in a dinner meeting, and most of the question, look, how can you be sure that your PPA is going to be honored? And if that is a concern in India, it can be a concern in many countries. And these are the risks that have to be covered, and the risk mitigation fund, if you create $300 billion over 10 years in 10 places, how do you get the investment for this risk mitigation fund? ISA feels that this can come from three sources. Source one are countries who have official development assistance budgets, countries like UK, USA, India, France, Japan, China. Those who have ODA, they can contribute money. And India has in fact earmarked $2 billion of soft loan for solar projects in Africa. France has earmarked 300 million euros for such projects. And in the previous week, India in fact is discussing and whether Another $1 billion can be soft loan through Exim Bank can be committed for non-African countries, countries in Asia, countries in Latin America. And ISA feels that these things can be taken to other countries. So the idea is if you create a risk mitigation fund of $300 billion, $3,000 billion of credit can flow to this sector. And no sector can actually prosper without money. And the best proof of the financial institutions of saying that they would like to decarbonize investment projects, systems, is to give money. And at least 15% is not a big amount. I mean, but if the financing institutions, including Clean Climate Fund, they can commit some money and give a 5-year credit roadmap, this will help the corporate sector globally. Because whether the company is from India or France, Europe or America, they like there is some sort of reliability of financial supply to the sector, and that will come to the second program. So if we could put the demand, we can aggregate it, we can create demand, and we could put the finance together, and with our corporate partnership program where we are trying to have contact with 1,000 Fortune 2000 companies, ISA feels this way. It can fulfill its commitment given in the Paris Declaration that by 2030, it will have 1,000 gigawatt of solar applications, $1,000 billion of investment, additional investment in the solar sector. And to this end, we will have more programs. But as of today, 38 countries have signed the treaty, the framework agreement. 9 countries have ratified. But we need a magic number of 15, because under the treaty, 15 countries have to ratify. And once the last country deposits the instrument of ratification, 30 days thereafter, it becomes a legal entity under international law. And this solar summit of 9th December is a part of the India's second renewable energy invest, which started in 2015. You are all most welcome, and on behalf of ISA and taking the liberty for inviting you on behalf of the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, you are all invited to this second mega event that is going to come called Reinvest 2. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing ISA's plans and the vision for the future. We are running little over half an hour late. So may I request Mr. Schaufhausen to make a very short presentation, if that's possible, say about 5 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes, sir, if that's all right with you. I know it's slightly...
Well, thank you very much for your kind introduction. It would be very hard to explain the world in only 5 minutes. So I hope I can talk a little